Book 2, Burn the World. Chapter 1, The Wolves' Circle. The bureau smelled of bleach and burnt coffee, a sterile place Callan had always trusted. But this morning, every step down the hallway felt like walking deeper into enemy territory. Director Rains didn't look up when she entered. He just gestured to the chair across from his desk. The silence stretched until Callan's pulse thudded in her ears. Finally, Rains slid a folder forward. Not the usual gray of case files. Black. Sealed. Confidential. Agent Gibson, he said, voice flat as concrete, your clearance is under review. Callan stiffened. On what grounds? Rains' gaze sharpened. Conflict of interest. You were assigned to investigate Alani Kahue. Instead, you buried her accuser and submitted a report that read more like a defense brief than an investigation. Convenient, given the photographs. Callan's breath stilled. The photographs, her with Alani. Dinner. The car ride. A kiss stolen in shadows. She'd hoped they'd never surface. Sir, with respect, Hale falsified the evidence. I proved it. And yet, Rains cut in, his voice lowering to a dangerous quiet, you spent the last month in and out of Kahue's penthouse. Heat rushed through her chest, half fury, half shame. I never compromised the case. Rains leaned forward, eyes cold. Tell me that again, Gibson. And try not to choke on the lie. By the time Callan left the bureau, her badge weighed heavier than ever. Her career was slipping like sand through her fingers, and she knew it. She drove without thinking, Manhattan's towers blurring past until she was parking beneath the obsidian spire of Kahue International. The moment she stepped into Alani's office, storm-gray eyes locked onto her. No smirk this time. No ice mask. Just sharp, assessing heat. They're circling you now, aren't they? Alani murmured, voice like velvet over steel. Callan dropped into the chair opposite her desk, dragging a hand through her hair. Conflict of interest. They're coming for me. Alani leaned back, studying her with a cool intensity that made Callan's pulse stutter. And yet you still came here. Callan's jaw tightened. Where else would I go? Alani's lips curved slow, deliberate, devastating. Not amusement this time. Possession. That's the right answer, she whispered. The silence between them crackled fear, fury, and that same molten pull neither of them could shake. For the first time, Callan realized something terrifyingly clear. It wasn't just the bureau circling. It was the whole damn world. And standing here, staring into Alani Kahue's storm-colored eyes, she knew she'd burn with her if it came to it. Chapter 2, Family Fault Lines. Kenzie's knock wasn't her usual polite tap. It was sharp, furious, echoing down Callan's hallway like a warning shot. Callan opened the door, already bracing. Kenzie stood there, eyes blazing blue, lips tight. In her hand, a folded magazine, the kind that thrived on scandal. Callan didn't need to read the headline. She caught a flash of the photo instead. Grainy. Zoomed in. Callan. Alani. Kissing in the rain, caught mid-desperation, fire and storm bleeding into the image. Kenzie shoved it at her. Tell me this isn't real. Callan's throat closed. Silence stretched too long. That was answer enough. Kenzie's laugh was sharp, hurt bleeding through. Unbelievable. You. With her. Kenz. No, Kenzie shoved past her, pacing the small living room. You've been lying to me for weeks. Pretending this was just about the investigation. And all this time, you've been crawling into bed with my sister. Callan flinched. It's not like that. Then how is it, Cal? Explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like betrayal. Of me. Of everything we've ever had. The words cut deeper than any bureau reprimand. Callan had faced down killers with less fear than the fury in Kenzie's eyes. Kenzie, I didn't plan this. It just happened. Kenzie spun, eyes wet but hard. Bullshit. You don't just happen into Alani Kahue's bed. She doesn't let people close. Ever. And now suddenly it's you? My best friend. Callan swallowed, chest aching. I didn't mean to hurt you. But she stopped, breath catching. Saying it out loud would break them for good. You what? Kenzie demanded, stepping closer, voice shaking. You love her. The silence that followed was answer enough. Kenzie recoiled, like she'd been struck. God, she whispered, voice cracking. You actually do. The door opened again. Alani stepped inside, her presence filling the room with storm and steel. Her eyes flicked from Callan's stricken face to Kenzie's fury. Well, Alani said softly, the secret's out. Kenzie turned on her, raw fury burning through tears. You did this. You took her from me. Alani's expression didn't waver. She was never yours to take. The words dropped like ice, final and merciless. Kenzie's breath hitched. For a heartbeat, her mask cracked, grief spilling through. Then she shoved past them both, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. The silence after was unbearable. Callan pressed a hand to her eyes, voice hoarse. She'll never forgive me. Alani stepped closer, fingers brushing hers, grounding her. Then she was never yours to lose. Callan looked up, storm meeting storm. You don't get it. She was my anchor. My family. And now. Alani's lips curved, not cruel, but certain. Now you're mine. And the terrifying part? Callan didn't argue. Chapter 3. Hale's Shadow. The headlines shifted fast. Yesterday's scandal was tomorrow's trash, but Hale's name lingered like rot. Callan saw it on the subway walls, the morning news, even whispered in the bureau halls. Martin Hale, disgraced CFO, claims he was framed by Kahue International. Alani's empire was supposed to be recovering. Stock climbing, investors crawling back. But Hale's shadow loomed. His voice was everywhere, smooth and poisonous. They called me a criminal, he said on national TV, smug in his tailored suit. But I was the one who tried to warn the world. Alani Kahue silences anyone who crosses her. I'm living proof. Callan nearly put her fist through the screen. That night, she found Alani in her penthouse study, phone pressed to her ear, storm in her posture. She ended the call, slamming the handset down hard enough to make the crystal decanter rattle. He's everywhere, she hissed. Every outlet, every investor call. I cut him loose, and now he's bleeding me dry from the shadows. Callan crossed the room, stopping at her desk. Then we cut him back. Alani's storm-gray gaze lifted, sharp and suspicious. You sound like me. Callan smirked, but it was all teeth. Maybe I'm learning. Alani studied her, then leaned back slowly, folding her arms. Careful, sweetheart. Once you start fighting like me, there's no going back. Callan leaned in, close enough for her voice to drop. Then maybe I need to stop holding back. 2 days later, the threat turned real. Callan was walking to her car after a late bureau meeting when the shadow moved. A figure detached itself from the alley, stepping into her path. Hale. He was taller than she remembered, lean and sharp, with eyes like polished glass. His smile was venomous. Agent Gibson, he drawled, voice slick. Or should I call you Alani's lapdog? Callan stiffened, hand inching toward her holster. Careful, Hale. You're already out on thin ice. Oh, I know. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. But ice can crack both ways. And when it does, everyone goes under. He leaned in, his whisper hot against her ear. Do you really think the bureau doesn't know where you spend your nights? Do you think they'll keep you once the truth bleeds out? Callan's pulse roared. She didn't flinch. Try me. Hale's smile widened. Oh, I will. Then he melted back into the alley, leaving the stink of threat clinging to the air. When Callan told Alani, the storm broke. I'll kill him, Alani said, voice low and deadly. I'll bury him so deep not even the rats will find him. Callan caught her arm, forcing her still. No, that's what he wants. You can't play his game. Alani's eyes burned, jaw tight. Sweetheart, he declared war. And I don't lose wars. Chapter 4. Enemies in the Dark. It started with whispers. A board member resigning without notice. A supplier pulling out of a long-term contract. 3 clients mysteriously reconsidering their deals. On the surface, it was business. Underneath, it was sabotage. Callan sat across from Alani in the penthouse, the city glittering below like a false promise. Papers were spread across the table, contracts shredded by loopholes, emails dripping with veiled threats. This isn't just Hale, Callan muttered, flipping through the mess. He doesn't have this kind of reach. Alani leaned back, eyes sharp, voice low. Then who does? The silence between them was heavy, both knowing the answer. Someone with money, someone with connections. Someone who wanted Alani gutted. 2 nights later, Callan found the first real crack. She was back at the bureau, combing through financials she wasn't supposed to touch anymore. And there it was, hidden in a series of offshore transfers. Hale wasn't acting alone. The trail bled straight into a name that made her stomach twist. Benton Cross. A rival mogul. Old money. Ruthless. And, Callan realized with a sick jolt, a major bureau donor. No wonder Hale was so bold. He had power behind him. Protection. When she told Alani, the storm in her eyes went feral. Cross, she spat. Of course. He's wanted my seat at the table for years. Hale is just his pawn. Not just yours, Callan said grimly. Mine too. If Cross is buying favors inside the bureau, that explains why Rains is on me like a vulture. Alani's lips curved, not in a smirk, but something darker. Predatory. Then it seems we share an enemy. She stepped closer, her perfume wrapping around Callan, voice dropping into velvet steel. The question, sweetheart, is what are we willing to do about it? The answer came faster than either expected. The next morning, Callan's car alarm screamed in the bureau lot. She ran to find her windshield shattered, a single message etched into the glass with a knife. You can't protect her. Callan told Alani, expecting fury. But the Ice Queen was calm, too calm, pacing the room like a panther in a cage. They're wrong, Alani said softly, dangerously. It isn't about who protects who. It's about who strikes first. She turned, storm-gray eyes gleaming with fire. And I don't wait for enemies to come to me. Chapter 5, The First Strike. It happened fast. Too fast. 1 minute, Alani's convoy was gliding down Fifth Avenue, black SUVs and tinted windows shielding her from the world. The next, brakes screaming, horns blaring, metal crunching. The lead car swerved, clipped by a truck that came out of nowhere. The SUV behind was forced to jackknife, slamming into traffic. Chaos erupted, shouts, glass, smoke. Callan, in the middle car with Alani, reacted before she could think. She grabbed Alani by the arm, yanking her low as the world exploded in screeching steel. The truck rammed again. Once. Twice. Purposeful. Controlled. Not an accident. A hit. When the smoke cleared, Callan shoved the door open, dragging Alani out onto the rain-slick pavement. The street was chaos, sirens, gawkers, the smell of burning rubber. Alani coughed, eyes flashing, hair falling loose from its perfect coil. Even disheveled, she radiated fury. This wasn't random, she rasped. I know, Callan snapped, scanning the crowd, hand on her holster. Her pulse thundered. They came for you. Alani's storm-gray eyes locked on hers, burning. No. They came for us. Hours later, safe behind reinforced glass in the penthouse, the fury hadn't left her. Alani stood by the window, city lights flickering across her face, jaw set like stone. They dared to touch me, she whispered, low and lethal. On my streets. In my city. Callan pressed ice against a cut on her arm, wincing. This is Hale. And Cross. They want you rattled. Alani spun, hair spilling, eyes wild. They failed. All they've done is ensure I won't stop until I've buried them both. Callan stood, crossing the room in 3 long strides. No. That's what they want. They want you reckless, striking blind. Alani stepped into her space, storm and fire clashing. And what do you want, sweetheart? To play by bureau rules? To wait until they kill me? Until they kill you. Callan's chest ached. She wanted to argue, to shout, but Alani's hand was on her arm, warm and trembling. Beneath all the rage, there was fear. Don't you see? Alani whispered. They won't stop. Not until one of us is in the ground. Callan swallowed hard. Her throat was tight, but her voice came out steady. Then we don't give them that choice. They stood locked together, the city raging below, both knowing the line had been crossed. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was war. Chapter 6, Cracks in the Ice. The penthouse was too quiet after the crash. Sirens had faded, security doubled, glass replaced, but the silence was worse than the chaos. Alani stood by the window, arms folded tight, storm-gray eyes fixed on the skyline. Callan leaned against the counter, watching her. Waiting. Finally, Alani spoke. "You need to leave." Callan blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." Alani's voice was sharp, but it wavered beneath the edge. "You're not safe here. You think Hale won't come after you next? You think Cross won't bleed you just to watch me break?" Callan stepped forward, heat rising in her chest. "So, your solution is to cut me out? To shove me away while they circle like vultures?" Alani turned then, eyes blazing, voice breaking like glass. "Yes, because I can't," she stopped, lips pressed tight, breath shaking. Callan's heart twisted. "You can't what?" Alani's hands clenched at her sides. "I can't lose you." The words hung heavy in the air, raw and unguarded. For a beat, Callan just stared. The Ice Queen, bearing her heart like a wound. Then she crossed the room in 3 long strides, grabbed Alani's face in both hands, and kissed her like the storm had finally won. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't calculated. It was desperate, furious, molten. Alani gasped against her lips, then melted, clutching at Callan's shirt, pulling her closer until there was no space left between them. The kiss deepened, teeth clashing, tongues tangling, a battle and a surrender all at once. They stumbled backward, hitting the edge of the desk. Papers scattered, pens clattered to the floor. Callan lifted her onto the surface, pressing closer, every ounce of restraint burned away. Alani's legs wrapped around her, a low sound escaping her throat, half growl, half plea. Callan devoured it, devoured her until they were nothing but heat and hands and desperate breath. When they finally tore apart, both gasping, Callan rested her forehead against Alani's. "You don't get to push me away. Not now. Not ever." Alani's eyes shone, storm-breaking, voice trembling. "Sweetheart, you'll be the death of me." Callan's lips brushed hers again, soft this time, a promise instead of a war. "Then we go down together." Chapter 7. Bureau Betrayal. The bureau halls had never felt so hostile. Callan walked them with her badge clipped high, head forward, but she could feel the stares. The whispers. She wasn't just an agent anymore. She was the scandal. Director Rains summoned her without preamble. His office door clicked shut like a coffin lid behind her. "You're off the Kahue case," he said flatly. Callan stiffened. "With respect, sir." "No," his tone cracked like a whip. He slid a manila envelope across the desk. Photos spilled out Callan and Alani, bodies pressed close, lips grazing, the world disappearing around them. Evidence. Proof. Betrayal. "You compromised yourself," Rains said coldly. "Compromised us. You're suspended, effective immediately. Turn in your weapon and badge." The words stole the air from her lungs. "You can't." "I can. And I just did." She drove aimlessly after, knuckles white on the steering wheel. No badge in her pocket felt like a tombstone. Everything she'd built, gone in seconds. But the deeper cut came when she thought of Alani. Hale and Cross were circling, wolves with blood on their teeth, and now Callan no longer had the Bureau's shield. She had nothing. When she stepped into the penthouse, Alani saw it instantly. "They took it," Alani murmured, voice low. Not a question. A statement. Callan dropped her holster onto the table. They clattered like broken glass. "They made me their scapegoat," she said, throat tight. "Said I was compromised. Said I was yours." Alani crossed the room in a breath, taking Callan's face in her hands. "You're mine." Her kiss was fierce, claiming, sealing the truth with fire. When she pulled back, her storm eyes blazed. "So, we stop pretending. The Bureau won't protect you. Then we protect ourselves." Callan's chest ached, fury mixing with want. "You're saying we fight back?" Alani smiled, sharp and slow, a queen reclaiming her crown. "No, sweetheart. I'm saying we burn back." Chapter 8. The Alliance. Alani's penthouse was alive with voices that didn't belong. Her board members, lawyers, security chiefs, all buzzing like angry bees. But it was the man sitting casually at her obsidian desk that made Callan's stomach twist. Victor Duval. Corporate shark. Billionaire vulture. Alani's fiercest rival in Manhattan. What the hell is he doing here? Callan hissed, stalking to Alani's side. Alani's lips curved into a humorless smile. Making himself useful. Duval rose, every inch the charming predator. Relax, agent. Oh, ex-agent, isn't it? His smirk dripped venom. We're all on the same side now. Callan's fists itched. You'd slit her throat for a seat at the table. True, Duval said easily, pouring himself a drink. But Cross would slit both of ours for the whole damn table. And Hale's the dog fetching sticks for him. I don't like dogs. Especially when they bite. Alani's storm gray eyes glittered. Victor and I have aligned interests. For now. Callan's jaw clenched. You're trusting him? Alani turned to her, voice low, steel and silk. I don't trust him. I use him. Later, when the boardroom emptied, Callan paced the penthouse, fury burning under her skin. You can't be serious about working with him. Alani lounged in a chair, sipping her wine like the world wasn't on fire. Sweetheart, in war, you don't choose allies you like. You choose the ones who keep you alive. Callan spun, storm meeting storm. And what happens when he turns on you? Alani smirked, deadly and calm. Then I turned faster. That night, they pored over files Duval had brought, emails, contracts, offshore transfers linking Cross to more than just Hale. Arms deals. Political payoffs. Even whispers of ties inside the bureau. Callan's stomach turned cold. He's bigger than we thought. Alani's eyes darkened. Then we hit harder than he ever dreamed. She leaned in, hand brushing Callan's as they hovered over the papers. The contact was small, but the heat it sparked was impossible to ignore. This isn't the Bureau's fight anymore, Alani whispered. It's ours. And if we want to win, we need monsters of our own. Callan's throat tightened. She met Alani's gaze and saw the truth there, not just a queen, not just a storm, but a woman who would burn the world for them both. And God help her, Callan whispered back, then let's be monsters. Chapter 9, Kenzie's Choice. The knock was hesitant this time, softer than the storm she'd brought last. Callan hesitated at the door, pulse thudding. When she opened it, Kenzie stood there, hair pulled back, eyes rimmed red from sleepless nights. Kenz, Callan breathed, hope and dread colliding in her chest. Kenzie's gaze flicked past her, into the penthouse, where Alani stood silhouetted against the city lights. The tension was a living thing, coiled and brittle. I'm not here to fight, Kenzie said finally. I'm here because you need to hear this. They sat at the long marble table, silence thick as fog. Kenzie slid a flash drive across to Callan. I shouldn't have this. But I do. Her voice was quiet, strained. Cross paid Hale's bail. But that's not the kicker. I found wire transfers, millions. And the trail leads to someone inside your bureau. Callan's blood ran cold. Who? Kenzie shook her head. The files are encrypted. But I know one thing, Hale and Cross aren't just trying to bleed Alani's empire. They're trying to bury you too. Alani leaned forward, eyes sharp as knives. Why are you helping us now? Last time we spoke, you called me a thief. Kenzie's jaw trembled, but her eyes met hers with raw fury. Because Hale showed up at my apartment last night. He wanted me to sell you out, Callan. Said he'd make me rich for it. Callan's stomach lurched. Jesus, Kenz. I slammed the door in his face, Kenzie said fiercely. Then her voice broke, cracking like glass. I may hate what you two are doing, but I won't hand you over to him. Alani's storm gray eyes softened, just slightly. Enough for a crack of respect. You made the right choice, she said quietly. Kenzie laughed bitterly. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because Callan was my family before you ever touched her. And I'll be damned if I let some bastard destroy what little of her I have left. Her voice wavered. Even if she already chose you over me. The silence after was knife-edge sharp. When Kenzie finally left, Callan slumped into a chair, throat burning. She'll never forgive me, she whispered. Alani moved behind her, resting hands on her shoulders, grounding her. Maybe not. But she didn't betray you. That counts for something. Callan tilted her head back, looking up at her. You don't get it. If I lose her, if I lose you, I don't know who I am anymore. Alani bent low, lips brushing her ear. Then hold on to me, sweetheart. Because I'm not letting go. Chapter 10. The Trap. The warehouse smelled of dust and oil, a forgotten husk on the East River. Perfect for shadows. Perfect for secrets. Callan crouched behind a rusting crate, earpiece crackling. Targets inbound. 2 minutes. Beside her, Alani adjusted the slim pistol strapped beneath her jacket. Even in the gloom, she radiated command, Ice Queen turned Warrior Queen. This is reckless, Alani muttered. Callan smirked despite her pulse hammering. You love reckless. Alani's lips curved. I love results. The plan was simple. Bait Hale with a false lead, expose the bureau mole when they showed to protect him, end it clean. Except nothing stayed clean in their world. The sound of tires screeched outside. Headlights cut across the broken windows. Footsteps thundered. Hale walked in first, smug as sin, flanked by Muscle. But it wasn't just him. The second figure froze Callan's blood. Agent Monroe. Her colleague. Her friend. Jesus, Callan whispered. It's you. Monroe's smile was thin, apologetic, and venomous at once. You were always too good, Gibson. Too clean. Cross needed someone inside with teeth. Callan's gut twisted. You sold us out. And I'll do it again, Monroe said coldly. He raised his weapon. Everything exploded at once. Gunfire shattered the silence. Sparks flew. Crates splintered. Callan shoved Alani down, bullets whining past. She returned fire, heartbreaking with every shot, because it wasn't strangers anymore. It was betrayal wearing a bureau badge. Hale's laughter cut through the chaos. You thought you'd trap me, sweetheart? You're the mouse. I'm the cat. Alani rose from cover like a storm unchained, eyes blazing, gun steady. Wrong. She fired, grazing Hale's arm, sending him cursing behind cover. But Monroe's aim was true. His bullet clipped Callan's side, heat and agony ripping through her. She stumbled, gasping, crimson soaking her shirt. Callan! Alani screamed toward the air. She caught her before she hit the ground, fury and terror colliding in her chest. Around them, the fight raged on, Hale retreating into the shadows with Monroe at his side. Callan gritted her teeth, blood on her lips. Don't let them win. Alani's grip was iron, her voice shaking with wrath. I won't. I swear it. They touched you, sweetheart. And now, I'll burn the world. Chapter 11. Fire and Blood. The world blurred for Callan's sirens, gunpowder, pain like liquid fire in her side. But Alani didn't blur. Alani was crystal clear. She carried Callan through the chaos like she weighed nothing, storm-gray eyes burning with something primal. Security details swarmed them at the warehouse doors, but one look from Alani and they fell silent, parting like shadows before the storm. Penthouse, she ordered. Now. Hours later, Callan woke to soft sheets and antiseptic sting. Her side was bandaged, for dripping beside the bed. The city's skyline stretched beyond the glass walls. Alani sat nearby, hair unbound, suit jacket discarded, hands crimson from scrubbing, but still stained. The storm in her eyes hadn't dimmed. You're awake. The words cracked, betraying relief she'd never admit aloud. Callan tried to smile. Takes more than a bullet to drop me. Alani's jaw clenched. Don't joke. Not about this. Callan reached, brushing her hand. I'm still here. Thanks to you. Alani's lips trembled, just for a second. Then the mask slid back, sharp and cold. No, sweetheart. Thanks to me, they think they can touch you. That ends tonight. What followed was fire. Alani called in debts from rivals who owed her favors, blackmailed investors who thought they could play both sides, unleashed a storm of lawyers and mercenaries in equal measure. By dawn, Hale's accounts were frozen. His hideout smoked. His men scattered. And Monroe? Callan's stomach tightened when Alani slid a photo across her bedside table. Monroe, bloodied, hauled into one of her safe houses. They won't touch you again, Alani murmured, eyes dark. Not while I can breathe. But Callan's pulse stuttered. Alani, if you go this far, there's no coming back. Alani's gaze met hers, fierce and unwavering. Sweetheart, I crossed that line the moment they put a bullet in you. Now I burn until there's nothing left to threaten us. Her hand brushed Callan's cheek, tender and trembling. They declared war. And war is all I have left to give. Chapter 12, Ashes. The city was quieter the morning after Alani's war. Not peaceful, never that, but quieter, like it was holding its breath. Callan sat propped against pillows, pale but steady. The wound throbbed, but her mind was sharper than the morphine wanted it to be. Alani stood at the window, phone pressed to her ear. She spoke in clipped phrases, commands, threats, promises. When she finally ended the call, she didn't turn. They've lost half their allies, she said softly. Hale is cornered. Cross's accounts are crippled. The Bureau is choking on its own scandal. Callan's heart clenched. And what did it cost? Alani turned then. Her hair was loose, her blouse unbuttoned at the throat, but her eyes, God, her eyes looked like battlefields. Everything, she whispered. Later, Kenzie appeared at the penthouse, shoulders tense, eyes scanning Callan's bandages before flicking to her sister. What did you do? Kenzie demanded. Alani's smile was a knife. I kept us alive. Kenzie's voice shook. At what price? Half the board is gone. Investors are fleeing. The press is circling like sharks. You didn't save your empire, Alani, you gutted it. Alani's jaw tightened, storm raging behind her eyes. Then let it burn. I'll build again from the ashes. Kenzie turned to Callan, desperate. And you're just letting her? You're supposed to be the one who stops her from crossing lines, Cal. Callan's breath hitched. She looked at Alani, at the storm-gray eyes that had turned softer only for her. She's not mine to stop, Kenz. She's mine to stand with. The silence was brutal. Kenzie's eyes filled with something between grief and fury. Then you're both lost. She left without another word. That night, Alani lay beside Callan, her head on Callan's shoulder, the weight of a kingdom crumbling in her silence. You should hate me, she whispered. Callan turned, brushing her lips against her hair. I should. But I don't. Why? Callan exhaled, voice rough. Because you burned it all for me. The city outside glittered like broken glass. The storm had passed, but the wreckage remained. And in the quiet, with Alani's hand tangled in hers, Callan realized the truth. They hadn't won. They hadn't lost. They had survived. But only just. Chapter 13. Burn the World. The rain came hard that night, pounding against the glass walls of the penthouse like the city itself wanted in. Callan stood at the window, bandaged but steady, staring at the skyline she no longer belonged to. No bureau. No badge. No anchor in Kenzie. Just fire and scars. Behind her, Alani poured 2 glasses of whiskey, the amber liquid trembling in crystal. She handed one over, her storm-gray eyes softer tonight, but no less dangerous. Do you regret it? She asked quietly. Callan took a slow sip, burning her throat. Which part? Me. The word hung heavy, raw in its simplicity. Callan turned, stepping into her space, close enough to see the cracks in the Ice Queen's mask. She set the glass aside and touched Alani's cheek, thumb brushing along her jaw. Never, Callan whispered. Alani's eyes shone, and for once, she didn't fight it. She leaned into the touch, into her, as if the storm had finally found its harbor. But the quiet didn't last. News alerts buzzed across the phone screen left abandoned on the table. Hale, missing. Cross, under federal inquiry. Monroe, vanished from custody. The war wasn't over. It was changing shape. Alani caught the flicker in Callan's eyes. They'll come again, she said. Not a warning. A promise. Callan's lips curved, slow and dangerous. Then let them. They'll find us ready. Alani set her glass down, sliding closer until their breaths mingled. Ready to fight? Callan's hand slid around her waist, pulling her in, voice low and fierce. Ready to burn the world, if that's what it takes. Alani's laugh was soft, almost broken. She kissed her then, hard, desperate, sealing the vow with fire. And in that moment, with the storm raging outside and the city trembling beneath them, they weren't FBI agent and CEO. They weren't rivals, enemies, or even survivors. They were something new. Something dangerous. Something the world wasn't ready for. Epilogue, Embers. Morning crept in slowly, gold light cutting through sheer curtains. Callan woke first, pain a dull throb in her side, but it was nothing compared to the weight curled against her. Alani, hair undone, lips parted in sleep, one hand splayed possessively across Callan's stomach like she dared the world to pry her away. For a long moment, Callan just stared, memorizing her. The Storm Queen, the Ice Queen, the Empire Builder here, she was none of those things. She was warmth, softness, every secret the world swore she didn't have. Alani stirred, lashes fluttering. Her eyes cracked open, storm gray softened to morning mist. "You're staring," she murmured, voice rough with sleep. "Guilty," Callan said, lips twitching. "I was making sure you're real." Alani smirked, rolling onto her side, the sheet slipping scanlessly low. "Sweetheart, you should know by now I'm very real." Callan's pulse jumped. "Yeah, well, sometimes it feels like I dreamed you up. Some cruel hallucination that wrecked my life and made me love it anyway." Alani's smirk curved into something softer. She leaned close, brushing her lips lazily across Callan's jaw. "Careful, agent. Keep talking like that, and I might actually believe you're in love with me." Callan caught her chin, tilting her face up, eyes burning. "Oh, I'm way past that." For a moment, silence. Then Alani kissed her slow at first, then deep, demanding, like she wanted to leave fingerprints on her soul. Callan groaned, hands gripping her waist, pulling her closer despite the ache in her ribs. When they finally parted, breathless, Alani whispered, "You're trouble." Callan smirked against her lips. "And you love trouble." Alani's laugh was low, dangerous, and entirely unguarded. "God help me, I do." Hours later, over coffee, Callan's phone buzzed with Kenzie's name. She let it ring. Alani arched a brow, sipping her espresso like it was blood. "You're ignoring her?" Callan sighed. "Not ready to pick that fight." Alani tilted her head, sly smile tugging her lips. "You'll come back to me sulking when she bites your head off. And I'll console you." Callan smirked. "Console me how?" Alani's gaze dipped, deliberate, heated, devastating. "Sweetheart, I have several ideas." That night, they sprawled on the couch, city lights glittering beyond the glass. A muted newscaster droned about Hale's disappearance and Cross's crumbling empire. Alani muted it with one lazy flick of the remote, then curled against Callan, her legs tangling with hers. "You realize," Alani murmured, "we're officially villains now. My empire's in ruins, your bureau's turned on you, and the press thinks we're Bonnie and Clyde in stilettos." Callan chuckled, kissing her temple. "Then let them. Villains always get the best lines." Alani arched a brow. "And the best lovers." Callan turned, pressing her lips to hers, slow and claiming. "That part's true." When they finally broke apart, Alani's voice softened, almost fragile. "If they come again." Callan threaded their fingers together, eyes locked on hers. "Then we don't run. We don't bend. We burn the world." Alani smiled, slow and wicked, like a queen reclaiming her throne. She whispered against her lips, "Sweetheart, let's make sure it's worth burning." The city glowed like embers below, restless and alive. And in the penthouse above it, fire curled tighter, hotter, waiting for the next match to strike. Book 3 coming soon. Stay tuned.